Hi, so this is everything my daughter and I read the entire month of August, and then also I'll show you what we're currently reading and our most anticipated September reads. So let me start with her books. So she read The Menagerie by Tuiti Sutherland and Carrie Sutherland in August, and she really wanted to read this because it's the same author, Tuiti Sutherland, who wrote the Wings of Fire series. And she said she enjoyed the Wings of Fire series much better than she enjoyed this one. But she liked it enough to where she said she wants to continue the series because this is book one. So, yeah, so she said she liked it, but she didn't just like adore it like she did Wings of Fire. And basically, it has mythical creatures, unicorns, dragons, phoenixes, and then it's a menagerie that Zoe's family has been responsible for keeping the menagerie guarded from the outside world. But 6 griffin cubs have escaped, and if they can't be found, the menagerie will be shut down. So, yeah. Okay, and then she had a really big month reading Brandon Mole. She's obsessed. She loves Brandon Mole, so we got her this box set at like Half Price Books. So it's the first 3 books in the 5 Kingdoms series by Brandon Mole. This is 1, 2, and 3. So she read these 3, and it's like Cole Randolph is just trying to have fun with his friends on Halloween, but their trip to a neighborhood haunted house turns out to be the start of a wild adventure when he watches his friends being whisked away through a mysterious passage. He dives after them only to emerge somewhere that's very clearly no longer Mesa, Arizona. He soon learns he's come to a place called the Outskirts, made up of 5 kingdoms. The outskirts lie between wakefulness and dreaming, reality and imagination, life and death. So yeah, it sounds very interesting for her for sure. So she finished those 3, and then after she finished those 3, I went ahead and I'm confused now. This is a different series. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I get confused. She reads, okay, let me step back. She's going to explain this because I just got myself confused. Okay, so what's this?
This is the same series.
Okay, so this is what you're currently reading. So now I'm jumping ahead. She's currently reading book 4.
Yes.
In the Death Weavers. Wait, no.
5 Kingdoms.
Sorry, 5 Kingdoms. So she read the first 3. Now she's reading the 4th one, and then
this is a book by the same author.
And this is a different series.
Yes, it's the Fable Haven series.
Okay, so this is the Fable, but this is book 2.
Yes.
You already read book 1.
Yes.
Okay. You own book 1, or we read it from the library?
I own book 1.
Okay, these authors that write all these different series, so she's correcting me. Okay, so she read this, which is book 2, Fable Haven Adventure Dragon Watch Wrath of the Dragon King by the same author, Brandon Mole, but different series. Okay, so I'm not going to read the synopsis on this one because it's book 2, but she really, really loves it. Yeah, and so we will continue this one via the library. Now let me tell you what else she's currently reading. So that's what she's reading. This is what she's reading in her free time. Now this is what she's reading for homeschool. This is Kelsey Murphy and the Academy for the Unbreakable Arts by Erica Lewis. So this is one of the books that we picked for the beginning of the 5th grade. I'm sorry, my dog just loves to play if you hear him. Okay, so this is basically about the Academy for Unbreakable Arts trains warriors, and Kelsey Murphy, a foster child raised in the human world, is dying to attend. So she is, I guess, has magical powers, and she's going to a school where she learns that she's one of the most ancient beings in the other world. So she likes it so far. She's not very far into it. I talked about everything she read in August and what she's currently reading. Now I'm going to talk about her most anticipated read for September, and that is another series, Christopher, Paolini, Inheritance Cycle, book 4. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is the last book in the series or not, but this is YA. The other ones, I believe, are middle grade. And this is like her favorite author other than Keeper of the Lost Cities. Her name is slipping my mind right now. Whoever wrote Keeper of the Lost Cities, that's her favorite series besides Harry Potter. And then this has become one of her new favorite authors. And so, yeah, she read the first 3. And so it's a pretty good size, too. I think that's why she put it aside. It's over 800 pages. She said she really likes the way he writes. So yeah, so that's her most anticipated September read, and she'll probably finish it. Okay, so that's all her books. And now I'm going to talk about mine, you guys. Thanks so much for being here. So this is my reading journal, and I have a couple books in here that I literally finished at the end of July, but I want to talk about them now because I didn't mention them before. And then I'm filming this video still. I'm not quite at the end of August, but some of these are due back at the library, so I want to go ahead and to get this video out. So I technically so far in the month of August read 4 books, but then 2 of them, which is Black Beauty and Fahrenheit 451, I finished like right at the end of July, so I'm just including them in my August reads. Fahrenheit 451, which I finished at the end of July. This is by Ray Bradbury. It's a modern classic that I just never got around to reading. It's a pretty short read. It's less than 200 pages. Basically, it's just a really, I'm not going to talk about too much. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it, but I had never read it. It's a short novel, set in the perhaps near future when firemen burn books forbidden by the Brave New World regime. The hero, according to Mr. Bradbury, is a book burner who suddenly discovers that books are flesh and blood ideas and cry out silently when put to the torch. So it's about censorship, and of course I hate censorship. I'm all about free speech on for every aspect of anything, music, print, TV, movies, all of that. So I'm definitely a big supporter of that. And then this, basically, I will say that it's not a book that I see myself rereading. It's definitely not one of my favorite novels of all time. I think the plot is a little bit more interesting than the actual story and the characters themselves, because I just didn't feel a connection with any of the characters. The protagonist, like it says, and I read in the synopsis, he's like a firefighter, which is opposite in this world. They don't put out fires, they like start fires, which is they burn books. And I thought it was just a very interesting read, but like I get why it's so hyped up, but it just I didn't really connect with it that much. I wanted to read it more out of curiosity, and I'm glad that I did. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it other than saying I'm just glad I read it, because it's like just in one of those books in like the modern canon of literature that a lot of people reference, and I wanted to read it. I don't know what to say. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Not that that really means anything. I don't know. Okay, I've rambled enough. Okay, so another book I finished at the end of July, but I never discussed. It's like a children's classic. This is Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. This is a Sporn Illustrated original. I'm not sure if this one's out of print, you guys. I'll link everything I can find. You can definitely probably find it used. I got this at a thrift store. So, this was another book I just had on my list for years and years and years. I never read it when I was a kid, and honestly, I'm not sure why. It's really even in the back, it says that it really wasn't. It was mainly written as a way to teach people how to treat horses better. And that comes across, even though it's written as in the narrative form, it really came across to me in the writing. It's more of a cautionary tale, a book about how you shouldn't treat horses, which I love that aspect about it. But as far as it being one of my favorite children's classics, it just was not. See, it says this book was not originally written for children, but for people who worked with horses. And I think that's so great. And it's Anna Sewell, I'm not sure if I'm saying her last name correctly, but as she hoped to show what life was like for a working horse from the horse's point of view. I think what she did was brilliant. the fact that she made it a narrative showing from the horse's point of view what it's like to be mistreated, and for other horses, for that horse to witness other horses be mistreated. It was just very depressing, very, 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 very depressing. And I really had a hard time finishing it. I like kind of even skimmed through a lot of chapters. My daughter actually read this when she was like in first or second grade, and she told me she did not like it because she thought it was too depressing. And I was like, well, I never read it. I wonder why it's so, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, a lot of children's stories are like that, right? They're not all happy and stuff like that, and that's definitely this. Beatrix Potter, The Complete Tales. I actually got a copy. My husband actually bought this for me on eBay because I don't know if it's out of print or what. I think they have a different version of it on Amazon, but I started reading. I just read it in little bitty sections because it's like, you know, just all her stories. And my favorite ones were definitely in the beginning. And I just took my time reading it. And yeah, I actually finished in August. It was just a really sweet, cute read for me as an adult. Look at the illustrations. Oh my gosh. It's just like this reminds me of my dog. I have a black furry Chihuahua. She's like a Chihuahua mix, and she looks like Duchess. This is Duchess. So cute. I loved that story. I never heard of the story of Duchess. So it was a really fun read for me because we like rented these books from the library when my daughter was like a toddler, but I never really sat down and read them myself, and it was fun. And like I said, it wasn't like I sat down. I didn't start it in August. I started it months ago, but I finished it. Okay, and it's beautiful. Okay, now like the middle grade, and then I have 2 adult books. So the middle grade book that I finished and started in August was The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick. So this book, I think I mentioned this before. I literally like started it months and months and months, maybe like a year ago. I don't know what happened. I don't remember if I finished it or I didn't, but whatever the case, I bought it at a thrift store and I wanted to own it because the illustrations are just gorgeous. It was one of those books that I definitely watched the movie before I read the book. I highly, 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 if you have not seen the movie or read the book, do both. Read the book and then watch the movie. Phenomenal piece of literature, phenomenal movie. This is one of those books I will be rereading and rereading and rereading my entire life. It is gorgeous. The illustrations and the story, it's about an orphan named Hugo, and he takes care of clocks in this like clock tower in Paris because his uncle, it's a long story, I don't want to give anything away, but like he has to do it, and then so he's like very poor, and his father died, and so he's like and then he meets this little girl who is connected to this like toy maker and also a filmmaker, and it's just all about the arts, you know, and then like also like, you know, like engineering and things like that with making this mechanical man or like fixing him, and it's just beautiful. Very illustration heavy, as you can tell. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it, but if you haven't read it, please go read it. It's a beautiful story about relationships between people. Okay, and then now my 2 adult books. If you got this far, you're awesome. Okay, so oh yeah, and then I also have to share what I'm currently reading and stuff. Okay, so this was so it's The Picture of Dorian Gray and then The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. So The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This was a book that, again, on my list for years and years. I bought this at Barnes & Noble. It's a Barnes & Noble edition, and really pretty, the green edging. So right away when I read Oscar Wilde, I was blown away that his writing is phenomenally beautiful. And, you know, it's like, it just starts with the preface. The artist is the creator of beautiful things. To reveal art and conceal the artist is art's aim. The critic is he who can translate into another manner or a new material his impression of beautiful things. The highest as the lowest form of criticism is a mode of autobiography. Those who find ugly meanings in beautiful things are corrupt without being charming. This is a fault. Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are the cultivated, for these there is hope. And then, so basically, I'm not going to really talk too much about it because I feel like I don't know how to talk about this book without giving away spoilers. I'm sure a lot of people watching this video have read it or have at least heard of it, if not read it, because it is a classic, but I wasn't one of those people, so I wanted to read it. Okay, Dorian Gray is the most despicable character, most unliked character I think I've ever read, and obviously that's the point. It's kind of like a moral tale about the life of Dorian Gray, who is this man who everyone thinks is just beautiful, very vain, all about the way he looks. Everyone thinks he's beautiful, so it's not just him. It's like society projecting on him, and telling him like, okay, like you're just so beautiful. Like, why would you never want to stay beautiful and young? And he gets these ideas in his head, and of course you can imagine things go wrong. And it had like a dark surprise at the end. I'm definitely not going to say what it is, but it definitely shocked me. And it really was like, ugh, like I don't like reading. I just didn't know that part of the book, and I'm not going to say it at all, but there is like even the plot, I think, just like Fahrenheit 451, the plot of this book I felt was more interesting than the story, because I just didn't connect with Dorian, of course. And I don't think Oscar Wilde wants you to connect with Dorian. That's the point. He is a despicable person. But I didn't like any of the other characters. I thought the painter was okay. I forgot his name. Gosh, I have notes. But I thought the painter, who was, Dorian Gray's friend, I thought he was the most likable character, which is Basil. But his friend, like Lord Henry, also very despicable, very unlikable. Oh my gosh, I did not like him. Oh, like at all. It's like written in third person, also based in London. Sorry. The concept I felt, which is, I don't even want to say that, because like many of you probably know what it is about the thing about Dorian Gray, like the big theme of the book about but I don't want to say it in case someone. So this book is very hard to talk about without giving away a spoiler. I just want to say that it's obsessed. The idea is like obsession with the beauty of youth versus like the wisdom of age. And I feel like, of course, there's consequences to being obsessed with beauty and youth and being vain and things like that. And then like the writing was beautiful, I will say that, but it just wasn't enough for me to feel so strongly about this book as it being one of my favorite books or being like a reread or anything like that. Like, I'm glad I read it again because it's referenced so much. I just felt like it was one of those goals I had and I wanted to finish it. It's really not that long. It's like a little bit over 200 pages. I kind of felt like it could have just been a shorter book, and I never usually say that because I can read about a beautiful writer describing like the wind blowing for like 10 pages. So I don't mind slow books, and it wasn't even that it was slow. It's just it didn't do it for me. And I hate saying that. I feel like it's like a crime because it's a classic, but I don't know. You guys, it's beautiful writing, and that's where I have to end it. I don't know. This is Donna Tartt, The Little Friend. So, The Little Friend. I actually made a whole video on Donna Tartt on my channel. Not many people watched it. But I regret making that video because I wish I would have finished The Little Friend before I made that video. When I made that video, I was only halfway finished it, and this was like one on my list of books I was like, I need to finish. So I finally reread it. I just started from the beginning. This is based in Mississippi in the 1970s. It's about, let me read the back so I make sure I'm not giving anything away. But with Donna Tartt books, you can't really give anything away. It's like on Mother's Day, a little boy named Robin was found hanging from a tree in his parents' yard. 12 years later, Robin's murder is still unsolved, and his family remains devastated. So that is Robin's sister Harriet wants to solve his murder. She sets out to unmask his killer. Aided by her friend Healy, Harriet crosses her town's rigid lines of race and caste and burrows deep into her family's history of loss. Okay, so this book is about grief. It's about how a family deals with grief, all in different ways. It's not really a murder mystery, and it's not really like a crime mystery or like a mystery. It is more about like a character study of a family, more so the protagonist, who is this little girl you know, and she's so funny. Like, I literally laughed out loud so many times in this book because of the character Harriet, her personality. Obviously, it starts off very dark. She tells you right from the beginning that her older brother was found hanging from a tree, which is very dark. I mean, he was a child, and then that was like in the past, and then it brings you to the future of where his murder is still unsolved. So this book has like deals with like, it's like racism, poverty, like drugs, drug addiction, like I said, grief. It's also told from many different perspectives. I think that's why I gave up on it the first time. It doesn't stick with one protagonist, which is Harriet. It jumps around. I don't know who I'd recommend this book to, but if you like Donna Tartt, I would say definitely read it. If you like books that are kind of like character studies on like a family's relationships and like grief, I would say read it. It's kind of a hard book to recommend because it like going into it is kind of like not really what you think possibly. Let me just give you a sample of Donna Tartt's writing. How many times had Harriet stepped on this raised nail head with her bare foot? It was bent over at the neck by the force of the hammer, not sharp enough to cut, though once when she was about 4 years old and sliding on her rear end down the hall floor, this nail had snagged and torn the seat of her underpants, blue underpants, part of a match set from the kitty corner, embroidered in pink script with the days of the week. 3, 6, 9, 1 to grow on. The nail head was steadfast. It hadn't changed since she was a baby. No, it had stayed where it was, residing quietly in its dark tidal pool behind the hall door while the rest of the world ran haywire. She is using the nail head, the bent nail head that Harriet, this kid, keeps snagging herself on, as an analogy for the turmoil that's going on in her life. The dark tidal pool behind the hall door while the rest of the world ran haywire. And it is running haywire in this book. There's a lot of traumatic things kind of that happen in this book. It's depressing. It's depressing. Yeah, and then one last thing I wrote down in my notes, you know, I wrote like one of Harriet's aunts told her, life goes on. And then Harriet thinks it's one of Edie's favorite sayings. It was a lie. So yeah, it definitely is about struggling, the aftermath of this death of this child. I'm going to show you guys what I'm currently reading, which is another Brian Selznick book. This is Big Tree. And I probably will finish this one by the end of August because it's fairly short because of all the illustrations. And I'm probably going to talk about it in our end of the September books. But I just wanted to show you guys, I did buy his new book via Amazon. And it's all about the perspective of these two sycamore seeds. And I'm just starting it. And just like his other books, very illustration heavy. And I'm really excited. So yeah, that's what I'm currently reading. And then my most anticipated read for the month of September is this, The Woman in the Purple Skirt. Now, if you guys saw my haul video that I just did, which was like my last upload, then you guys probably saw these two books. But if you didn't, I showed that I just bought this book and I'm so excited. It's translated from Japanese. This is the author. And it just sounds really interesting. And I don't know if the characters are even named. They're just referred to as the woman in the purple skirt and the woman in the yellow cardigan. And it's like, unbeknownst to her, she's being watched by the woman in the yellow cardigan, who is always perched just out of the sight, monitoring which buses she takes, what she eats, whom she speaks to. So it's about this woman who's like watching this other woman. And I don't know if it like crosses the border of being like into obsession. This book didn't really come with a lot of descriptions that give you, it's being very good at being mysterious, and I like that. So I'm just going into it knowing, that it's like this one woman, the woman in the purple skirt, who's being watched by the woman in the yellow cardigan, and it just sounds intriguing to me. And it's a pretty short novel. Japanese novel of only 215-ish pages. Even the cover is interesting to me. So yeah, so that's everything my daughter and I read the month of August so far, and our most anticipated reads. Thanks so much for watching, subscribing, and liking. I really appreciate it. Bye.